Hey, welcome back. In this third episode you'll lose focus. Some things will get blurry. But keep in mind, keeping everything in focus is no guarantee for a great shot. Often you need a blurred section in the image. To make an important part of the image stand out from the rest, you can use the contrast between sharp and unsharp, or in focus and out of focus. The technique used is comparable to the technique used in previous episode. Remember the crayon box? We used the Scheimpflug principle to get the whole box of crayons in focus. But in this case we're going to do just the opposite. Another example of selective focusing. Selective focusing is used a lot in food photography. Here the same method is used to make the food stand out more from the background. Appetizing, isn't it? We got a new job from our agency. They need us to shoot the crayon box with only the green pencils in focus. The ad they want to make is an outdoor advertisement on a size of 120 by 175 centimeters or 40 by 70 inches. So this is probably not the best time to use your iPhone camera. This is the time you need a really good setup. A view camera along with a great lens and a top-notch digital back. So we're back in the studio and we're all set up to do this shot. We already did all the other photographer stuff like setting up the lights, brushing the dust off the crayons and drinking coffee. We will be using the Scheimpflug principle again. This time we focus on just the green crayon. Next we'll use the tilt to set the plane of focus perpendicular to the top of the crayon box. Next we use the swing movement to get the plane of focus in line with the green crayon. It's not hard to see when you're focusing, so you can set this up visually. The next thing you'll want to do is to make some test shots to determine what aperture setting you need. When you're done with the basic settings, you might need to fine-tune the focus. A helpful tip is to focus back and forth, and when the plane of focus is set correctly, the tip of the crayon and the rear of the pencil comes in focus at the same time. You'll want the whole green crayon in focus, and all the other colors need to be blurred. But not to the point where you can't recognize them anymore. You'll need a nice fluent color gradient to the outer focus areas. There is another area in which the view camera has a distinct advantage: macro photography. Most regular cameras focus from infinity to about 50 centimeters or 1.5 feet. Some macro lenses achieve a reproduction ratio of 1:1, which means the size of the subject you're shooting is reproduced at the same size on the sensor. This is where macro photography starts. But with many view cameras this is only the start. You can relatively easy go beyond the 1:1 ratio. Why not take it to 2:1 or 3:1 ratios? A macro lens on a DSLR usually can't do that. But view cameras allow you to extend the distance between the lens and the sensor. Macro photography is most used in nature photography. Flowers and small insects are the prime subject for the macro photographer. But in commercial photography it's also used for jewelry and watches. When you shoot macro, even closing the aperture to f32 or f45 will not deliver much depth of field. What's more, the small aperture degrades the image quality because of diffraction. So unless the watch she's shooting today is perfectly shot from the top, there are parts that will be out of focus. But we'd like to shoot the watch at an angle. Without a view camera, we can only focus at a part of the watch. It's not possible to have the whole dial in focus. With a view camera you can. Just like we did in previous episodes, we can use the Scheimpflug method to move the plane of focus. This also works in macro. When you shoot macro with a view camera, you'll need a really good tripod, or even better, a studio stand, to prevent camera shake. Macro photography outdoors, for instance, is hard to do with flowers. Just a little wind will blow the part you focused on out of focus. But when you do it right, even everyday items make a piece of art. There are other fun things you can do with selective focusing. For instance, here you see a real-life city, but it looks like you're looking at a miniature world. Can you figure out how this was done? What camera? What movement was used? And what aperture was used?